Hey, what's up? It's the Field with Preston Hiefield. Thank you all so much for listening, liking, and subscribing on YouTube, Substack, Apple, and Spotify. College football playoff first round is here tonight. Bama, Oklahoma in Norman. Tomorrow morning, the U is in College Station. I know a lot of people are doing that double from Norman to College Station. That's a brutal drive. That's like 6 hours. Some people, Kirk Herbstreit, will will fly out there, but that's going to be a really, really fun stretch here. And then obviously you got Ole Miss, Tulane, middle of the day, and Oregon, JMU to cap it all off. Coming up on this pod, I'm going to give you my full predictions. I'll go game by game. Won't keep it too long, but just going to give you a key or two, what I've seen, my opinion, and give you my game-by-game college football playoff projections and predictions for round one, just the round one games, the 4 games this weekend. Arch Manning announces his return to Texas. Well, Cooper Manning did, but Arch is back. Saw Cooper at the Austin airport once. He looks literally exactly like a mesh of Eli and Peyton. It's wild. And he's also really, really, really tall, like all of 6'5" or 6'6". Plus, I think he was wearing cowboy boots, so it looked like he was like 6'7". Okay, so we got that. And then QB transfers, right? So Levitt and Rayola's technically in. Levitt and Trinidad are technically not in the portal. I want to just give you some thoughts on the QB transfers. I always think that's interesting. Portal season's going to be wild. Pete Thamel's going to be working overtime. So let's get into it, and we can quickly start with the college football playoff predictions. Okay. Number 9, Alabama at number 8, Oklahoma. Round 1 in Norman. It'll be round 2 of this game from this year. Earlier in the year, Oklahoma goes to Tuscaloosa, wins 23-21. Remember, that was Bama's only SEC loss in the regular season before they got packed up in Atlanta. 1.5-point spread. Oklahoma's the favorite. It started as Bama minus 2.5, so the line has really swung. 8 p.m. Eastern tonight, Friday night on ABC/ESPN is what they list. So I don't know if they have 2 broadcasts going or what. But if you remember last game, Alabama outgained OU 406 total yards to 212. I wrote in my newsletter in Norman. That is wrong. That would be Tuscaloosa. Whoops. That's why I need an editor. But they outgained him by nearly 200 yards. Tate Sandell, your man, should win the Groza. I don't know if they've announced that. 4 for 4. I mean, the guy's incredible. His game at Neyland, I put out an IG video. It was so good. He set records for a visiting kicker at Neyland, and then he goes 4 for 4 in that game. And then John Mateer had a rushing touchdown. If you remember, I mean, it was a big struggle for Oklahoma to move the ball. I've been pounding the desk all year talking about just how much respect I have for the Alabama defense. Everyone wants to talk about the Bama passing game. Obviously, they don't have much of a running game. Everyone wants to talk about Ty Simpson and the receivers. But the Bama defense has been what's really been holding the team together this year, and their 4th down conversions, the Mizzou game, some other games, the Georgia game, and stopping Georgia in the regular season. You got to wonder about the momentum of these teams. I do think Oklahoma's ascending a bit. You know, Mateer only had 7 passing touchdowns in SEC play this year in 8 SEC games. I mean, again, the defenses are great, but he clearly struggled after that hand injury, right? I remember that hand injury against Auburn, his first game back, couple weeks off surgery against Texas. I was at the game. He really struggled. And then the Texas defense was really good for most of the season. But we all want to see him at full strength. He threw for 29 touchdowns a year ago at Washington State. It was obviously a fantastic dual threat. Obviously, life in the SEC is significantly more difficult. That being said, it never really felt like Oklahoma, outside of like a pass to Satania and then he runs after the catch for like 60 yards, it felt like that was the entire OU offense. Like Jaden Ott barely played this year. He was one of the prized portal purchases. We all thought he was going to be like a 1,000-yard rusher. So it's been a very clunky year offensively for Oklahoma, but their defense is just, I think it's the best unit in college football. It's just insane. It has won them games. It helped win them the Tennessee game, the R. Mason Thomas scoop and score. That was incredible. He pulls his hammy on the play. You can see it. He pulls his hammy at like the 30-yard line and keeps running to the end zone for a touchdown. And then he's been out since that moment, but he's going to be back for this game. He's been officially medically cleared. That's obviously huge for Oklahoma. He is number 32. He's probably the best defensive player in the sport, in my opinion. Obviously, there's a lot of good ones. Reese, Downs, Ruben Bain, Cassius Howell, for my money anyway. He's the best defensive player in the sport. He's that good. If he's 100%, how effective will he be? Obviously, he might be a little bit nervous about re-pulling a hammy, etc. But I love that he's back for this game. On the Alabama side, the stakes just feel really big. Like, if Bama were to lose this, Kalen DeBoer would have 4 losses in back-to-back seasons and no postseason wins. Obviously, they lost to Michigan in the bowl game last year. Now, one of their losses this year, of course, was to Georgia in the SEC title game. No shame in that, especially because they beat Georgia earlier in the year. One of the best wins, arguably the best win in college football this year, was going on the road to beat Georgia, a team that many people, myself included, predict to win the national championship. So no shame in that. To me, it's still been a really good year for Kalen DeBoer. Like, it really has. I mean, I understand they can't run the ball. Jam Miller's been hurt all year. Their backup Hill's been solid. It's really more about just the run blocking. They haven't been able to run block very well, which is odd. In pass pro, they're great for the most part. Proctor's obviously a great left tackle. The Florida State loss, I still have no idea how that happened. Like, Ryan Williams got a concussion, and then their offense just fell apart. But the O-line was not very good in that game. Florida State's defense really got after Simpson. I thought he battled him as a warrior in that game. It's just that he didn't have a lot of protection in that game. But the O-line got better. I don't know, man. It's just going to be like, when they held up, they created a lot of really explosive plays the first time around against Oklahoma. I mean, they, like I said, over 400 total yards. That basically doesn't happen against Oklahoma. I mean, that's a really... This OU defense, again, for my money, is the best in the sport. That's a really good effort. 400 total yards against this nasty OU defense. But, again, only 21 points. And then, obviously, the pick 6 to Eli Bone was basically the play of the game that lost it for him. And no shame in that, because OU's defense. Oh, the Bowen Bros were committed to Oregon once upon a time, folks. They were committed to Oregon once upon a time. I think they made the right decision. Brent Venables just has OU playing well, man. Big game for both these coaches. Like, if Venables wins, he's already back in the good graces of the OU fan base, but coming off a 6-7 season last year, I know it was highlighted by that win over Bama, but I don't know. Like, you're kind of going, yeah, this just feels weird, like a couple of 6-7 Oklahoma seasons, but they've stood by him. He's still recruiting really well. Clearly, I mean, the thing that he has going for him is he is an elite defensive mind, and that is proving to be true on the field. Like, and that's why they hired him, right? Like, for the longest time, OU would get in these playoff games. They've still never won a college football playoff game. They would get in these playoff games, and then they would give up 50 points because Lincoln Riley wouldn't even pay attention to the defense, right? And he runs his offense in such a way that they don't possess the ball. They don't play complementary football. It's really just a one-trick pony. That's obviously proven to be true at USC as well. And so they haven't won a playoff game. But what I think a lot of us like about Venables is that he's a defensive mastermind, and that is playing out. That, like, the program identity of OU now is to be just a crushing, dominant defense. And, if that takes him to a national title, that's obviously awesome for them. If not, my point is, like, I think Venables, his fingerprints are all over the program in the best of ways, right? Like, he's doing a really good job, in my opinion, of creating that defensive identity. And so I don't think his like job's on the line or anything by any means this game, but some people feel that way about DeBoer. I think that's a big talking point. Like, if Alabama loses, people are going to be like, is Kalen DeBoer's job on the line? Is he going to go to Michigan? It's interesting. Obviously, Michigan, the winningest program in the history of the sport, their job's open right now. Kenny Dillingham gave a Willie Taggart style, why wouldn't I be, Mario Cristobal style, I think my agent's drawing something up here. He gave one of those the other day to the local Jays at ASU. It looks like that, the way he spoke in that interview, which was extremely scared and kind of monotone, and I just owe it to everyone to give my all today. That is the first sign of, I'm probably gone. I would imagine he's interviewed for the Michigan job by now. I don't think that reporting's out there, but I imagine he's interviewed for the Michigan job, and I also think Michigan wants to see what happens with DeBoer and see if they can persuade him. That's my opinion. Like, if DeBoer loses, Michigan might call him, and Michigan's going through a lot right now. I think, like, I don't know if the AD's under fire. He probably should be, like, just the way the whole Sharon Moore thing played out. I know they're saying they have independent investigators, and no one knows the details super well behind the scenes on what exactly Ward Manuel saw or didn't see. So, anyways, I'll let the legal process play that out. But I guess last thing on the DeBoer thing is, like, if he loses, Does he want to get out of town? In my opinion, taking Alabama to an SEC title game in year 2 as the coach and winning at Georgia and only having one conference loss and it was by 2 points, like that's a really damn good season, man. You just wonder, I by no means think they should fire him at all. I think they should. I mean, he's a really good coach, and dude, anyone in Saban's shadow is gonna, it's gonna take a while. And even obviously we know the story about Saban. His first year they lost to Louisiana Monroe, right? So it just takes a while, man. I mean, look at Venables. He had a couple 6 and 7 seasons to start in OU, and now his identity's coming through. So I wouldn't even think about it if I was Bama. I think Michigan just wants to see if DeBoer kind of wants out of town for some reason. None of the reporting suggests that at all. But anyways, those are kind of my thoughts on the way this game could end. As for the game itself, you remember the home teams last year were dominant. The home teams were absolutely dominant last year. I'm gonna go with Oklahoma here. I know that might surprise some people, but I just have that much respect for their defense. Got our Mason Thomas back. I think Mateer's getting healthier and healthier. They've had almost 3 weeks off since their last game, which was November 29th. Went back and looked. And they played much better against Missouri and LSU down the stretch. Obviously, those teams are kind of middle of the pack SEC teams. But, dude, this defense for OU is championship level. It's national championship level. Is the offense? Probably not, but the defense certainly is. So I'm going to go Oklahoma to win and cover. Final score prediction, Oklahoma 23, Alabama 16. Okay, number 10 Miami against number 7 Texas A&M, folks, at College Station. A&M -3.5, noon Eastern, ABC on Saturday, the first game. So, there's 2 NFL games going on Saturday as well. That's why the scheduling's a little funky if you guys want a little behind the scenes on why ESPN's scheduled games the way they have, because this feels like a prime timer. This could be the best game of the first round. I mean, this one or the OU Bama game. Both these teams are crazy. A&M and Miami are crazy. Like, A&M was just down 30-3 at home to South Carolina, came back and won. Then they got packed up by double digits in Austin on Black Friday, and that was a really good game. I mean, really good game for the first half. The A&M defense dominated the first half of the game, and then Arch came alive when he finally got some protection in the second half, and they picked off Marcel Reed twice down the stretch. Michael Taff had one of those. A&M is just so Jekyll and Hyde. Like, one half, they look like the best team in college football. Another half, they look like the worst team in the SEC practically. They are really inconsistent. I don't think either of these teams have any shot at winning the national title, but it should be an amazing game. I was almost going to say the Notre Dame Fighting Irish against Texas A&M because, man, Notre Dame should be in my opinion. But Miami, of course, beat them head-to-head by field goal at home in week 1, long time ago. Close game in Miami, but they did. I personally think Notre Dame's a better team, but what are you going to do? Miami is in. I never know with Miami. I think their front 7, Bain and Mesidor, those guys are just, those guys stood out. That Labor Day weekend game against Notre Dame, I was like, these cats are different. And they have been different all year. It's just that the offense goes cold for Miami. I mean, against SMU and against Louisville, went cold. I think Beck in the Louisville game threw like 4 picks, I remember watching. Like, he even had a chance to like tie or take the lead late through another pick on basically the final drive of the game. So you never really know what you're going to get with Carson Beck. You never know what you're going to get with Mario Cristobal in the playoff. You never know what you're going to get with A&M, period, ever. I mean, they're 11-1, but they've only played one of the top 8 SEC teams, and they lost by double digits. So everyone's saying, like, oh, is A&M a fraud? Like, are they actually not as good as their record would indicate? In my opinion, they're definitely not as good as their record would indicate, but they are good. Marcel Reed's good. Elko's obviously had a great year coaching. They won at Notre Dame. Last play of the game, Nate Bukorkerker, I probably butchered that, the tight end who caught the touchdown, his only catch of the game, by the way, on 4th and goal in South Bend. And by the way, I looked it up. He's got 3 touchdowns all year, 17 grabs all year. So obviously, arguably the most clutch catch of the college football season goes to a guy who doesn't get the ball much. So huge shout out to him for making the play at the end of the game. He was being guarded well by Notre Dame's linebacker, their team captain, and skied up and made the catch. That was one of the craziest endings to a college football game I've seen in a minute. Also with Notre Dame's backup quarterback, a.k.a. Holder, botching the hold on the PAT to lose the game. I just like these teams are so unpredictable. I love that they have the SEC Defensive Player of the Year, Cassius Howell for A&M, ACC Defensive Player of the Year, Reuben Bain. They're both monsters. They're going to be future millionaires. Love that Johnny Manziel is going to be in the house. College football royalty, baby. He'll be on College Game Day as the guest picker. That's awesome. He always brings the energy to Aggie Land. Man, I remember the last time that A&M won a big game, November of 2012. That was when Johnny won at Tuscaloosa, 29-24, beat the Saban team. Ryan Swopes down the right sideline. That ball was unbelievable. Obviously, he just had great scramble ability. That was a game where it was like someone just pulled the sword from the stone. That, like, back then, like early 2010s, beating Saban in Tuscaloosa felt essentially impossible. Remember, Cam did it with the crazy comeback in 2010. Johnny did it in 2012, and it felt like those are the only two teams to beat Bama at Bama. I think LSU did it in that 9-6 overtime game that was in Tuscaloosa in 2011. But more or less, it was just like if you ever beat Bama at Bama, it was like almost an impossible feat. Obviously, that won him the Heisman that night. One of the real special seasons we've ever seen in college football by a player, certainly statistically. So it's awesome that he's in the house. You know, I love the receivers in this game. Malachi Toney, true freshman for Miami. He's been incredible all year. Threw a touchdown pass recently. Has torched a couple of opponents this year. Mario Craver, KC Concepcion. Craver went for over 200 yards against Notre Dame this year on the road. Those guys are both so fast. They're transfers. Craver, I think, is from Mississippi State. Concepcion's from NC State. Those guys are incredibly fast. So there's going to be like elite line of scrimmage play and elite receiver play in this game. You know, probably comes down to which quarterback makes the fewer mistakes. That, you know, I keep going back to this home field thing because last year, I'll pull it up. Remember how insanely lopsided the first round games were in favor of the home teams last year? Penn State beat SMU 38-10. Ohio State spanked Tennessee 42-17. It wasn't even that close. Texas beat Clemson 38-24. They were up 31-10 late. Clemson got a couple of late touchdowns. Notre Dame was up 27-3 with like 5 minutes left on Indiana. Remember, Indiana didn't do anything all game. And then they scored 2 garbage time touchdowns to make it 27-17. But in general, that was a blowout of a game. So the home atmospheres really meant a ton last year. And you know, obviously Carson Beck being a 6th-year senior, you know, that's the experience that you want going into a road game here. But I just think that the home teams, man, I think they have a big advantage here. Like the playoff electricity at home. I love that. You know, the higher ranked teams have earned that right to play a home field game. I think it makes college football so great. It's so much better than playing this game in the Cotton Bowl or something. I mean, A&M would have an advantage, but it wouldn't be, you know, it wouldn't feel the same, obviously, as the game being at Kyle Field on campus. Just the on-campus home playoff games, man, it's just, makes college football what it is. Like, I love it. So... yeah, I like A&M in this game, man. The spread's 3.5. I got A&M 30, Miami 24. Don't trust either of these teams at all. I mean, when was the last time either of them won a big game? Like, seriously, a big game late in the season? Like, late in the season. I mean, Miami hasn't won an ACC title ever. It's been 25 years since they've won a conference title, right? A&M, they've never even played in an SEC championship game. They've played in big games, but they never win these big games, ever. Like, A&M never wins these big games as a program late in the season. You know, they had a chance to do that in Austin. Could have been 12-0. Could have been a 1 or a 2 seed if they had done that. And then obviously they would have needed to beat Georgia in the SEC title game. But, you know, it's just it's gonna take some kind of ricochet or pick six or curse to get broken here, because both these teams feel cursed in late season games, in big games. So I'll lean the home team, man. A&M 30, Miami 24. Okay, number 11, Tulane at number 6, Ole Miss in Oxford. Pete Golding, the new head coach at Ole Miss now. No more Lane Kiffin, although Ole Miss did beg for all of the LSU offensive assistants who went with Kiffin from Ole Miss to LSU to come back for this game. But they're not letting Kiffin back for this game. But they're having all the assistants come back for this game. Doesn't make a lot of sense. We've been over this a million times. That they have no shot to win the national title without their head coach, and why the administration wanted to do that, I will never, ever, ever understand. By the way, if you heard Trinidad Chambliss the other day, he got asked, I wrote the quote in my newsletter, he got asked, where are you going to play next year if you get this waiver? Because he's applied for this waiver. Like, people have been on pins and needles waiting to see if he's got it from the NCAA. The decision's supposed to have been any day now. It's been like weeks in November now, or in December now. But he got asked at the pre-bowl game presser, where are you going to play next year if you get this waiver? And he goes, quote, I would have to consider what the best situation is for me, what I feel more comfortable with, who I trust the most, and get a feel for every possibility, really. So there's a lot that goes into that. Huh. That smells like LSU to me. That smells like Lane Kiffin to me. With who I trust the most, who I'm most comfortable with, is it going to be a defensive-minded head coach and Pete Golding, who's probably a great guy and probably a great coach? Or is it going to be the greatest coach they've ever had by a mile, who is now at LSU? By the way, winner of this game gets Georgia in the Sugar Bowl January 1st. The transfer portal opens January 2nd. Not trying to be a downer here. If Ole Miss loses to Georgia, day later the portal opens. Would not be surprised at all if Trinidad's got a sweet package cooked up by those LSU boosters, signed off by the governor, of course, for Trinidad, and maybe even Quan Lacey too. 20 rushing touchdowns, most in Ole Miss history this year. It's tough for Ole Miss, man. I get it. Like, it's not their fault that Lane wanted the LSU job. I think most people would tell you. I love how Lane in his presser was like, yeah, I called Pete Carroll and I called Nick Saban and they told me to take it, so I took it. Like, he was totally deflecting the blame. Like, I called these two legends and they told me to take it, so I took it. I think pretty sure he's going to take it without those guys telling him that. I don't think he needed those guys to say, yeah, you can shake a tree and find a 5-star wide receiver in your backyard. That's Saban's famous saying about Louisiana. Anyways, the game itself, obviously John Summerall on his way to Florida. Sunbelt Billy's taking over at JMU. Pardon me. Sunbelt Billy, who obviously got fired by Florida, is now going to JMU. That's the next game that we'll preview. Tulane's new coach. I don't remember if they have one or not already. I feel like they do. Does Tulane have a new head coach? Gosh darn it. Now I got myself looking. Will Hall. OC, veteran assistant, former Southern Miss head coach Will Hall has been promoted to head coach a couple days ago. Okay. Did not know that. There you go. So, this game. Rematch of one in Oxford, 45-10 earlier this year. We've already seen the game. It was a blowout. The stands were half full for this one. Back on September 20th. It was back on September 20th. I love that Summerall's not afraid to bench Jake Retzlaff. By the way, Retzlaff set the single-season program record for rushing touchdowns by a QB this year with 16. And my hat goes off to Tulane for winning the American. That's a good conference, man. You had Navy, you had South Florida, you even had Memphis in there for a bit. You had North Texas, who I saw in person. Really good passing team anyway. And Tulane beat North Texas, packed him up in the conference title game in New Orleans at Tulane University. I will say the Ole Miss game earlier this year, Jake Retzlaff, 5 of 17 for 56 yards and no touchdowns, got benched for Brendan Sullivan, the backup. You may remember that name. Where's he from? Former Iowa QB, Brendan Sullivan, played a little bit last year. He's the backup QB for the Green Wave. I went to the UTSA game where, remember, John Summerall and Jeff Traylor were kind of shouting at each other in the press conference about, is there fake crowd noise or not? There's definitely fake crowd noise in the Alamo Dome. I'm here to tell you, been there in person for a handful of UTSA games. I mean, there was maybe a couple thousand fans there, and it sounded like there were 40, 50,000 fans there. It is a dome, so the noise reverberates and comes back down and makes it a lot louder, but there was some fake crowd noise piped in there. I'm just going to say that. My personal opinion as someone who's been there a couple of times. Do like Summerall a lot. He's a really good coach. It was weird when he was kind of trashing his team earlier this year in press conferences, saying, I can't believe we're ranked in the top 25. I don't even know if we should be ranked in the top 40 or top 50. He's harsh on his team. But, obviously took the Florida job, still won the American Championship game, so the team's definitely still playing for him. He's not afraid to bench Retzlaff. I wouldn't be surprised if Retzlaff got benched in this game. I think if you're Ole Miss, this game goes one of two ways. Like, your players either come out like us against the world. Lane Kiffin left us. We'll prove everyone wrong. And they play incredible and with their hair on fire and they win by 40 or 30. Or they come out really flat and uninspired, and we've already played and beat Tulane, and we don't even have our old head coach. I know that Pete Golding's officially promoted as our new head coach, and this is his first game, and he's been with us, but our assistants had to come back because our administration needed them back. Charlie Weiss Jr. and the play caller and the other guys, like, we needed assistants for this game. So it does feel a little bit, of course, like a fractured coaching roster and I don't want to say fractured locker room because I'm not there in person. I think that's up to Trinidad, honestly. I think it's the leadership of the team, Trinidad and Kawan Lacey. And by the way, like the game when Ole Miss played at Georgia and hung 35 on them and had a lead late and then ultimately lost 43-35 because they couldn't get a stop. But that was the best game I've seen a quarterback play against Georgia in a long time. Joey Aguilar went off. He played incredible in Neyland earlier this year when they lost in overtime, like 43-41 or something. He had a couple of deep balls in that game, but it was, and he was, again, Joey Aguilar was great in that game, but it was a little bit of all or nothing ball in that game. It was a lot of just like chuck it deep. Ole Miss kind of routinely, methodically sustained drives up and down the field pretty much all game long until the back half of the fourth quarter against Georgia. And it was Trinidad's legs. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, had a passing touchdown. But even the stats in that game were like, they don't tell the whole story. Like the sleight of hand, the third down conversions, the awareness, the ability to get out of sacks, because Georgia can make it a long day on her quarterback if he's not mobile. Like, dude, Trinidad was just magical in that game. Like, if they would have won that, he could have been a Heisman front runner. Probably didn't, because he didn't start the first 2 games. He probably didn't have enough stats or didn't have enough playing time for people to have voted him Heisman. I'll tell you what, if he goes to LSU next year with the brilliant offensive mind that Kiffin is, I would imagine he'll be the betting favorite to win the Heisman in the preseason. Doesn't mean he actually will win it, but I imagine he'd be the betting favorite to win it in the preseason. Obviously I like Ole Miss in this game. Just a big talent mismatch overall. They won the first game 45-10. I do think they'll cover. It'll be a little closer. I have 40-20. Ole Miss gets the cover. They cover 17.5. Winner gets Georgia in New Orleans. Obviously, this is the first ever college football playoff game for Ole Miss. First ever for Tulane. Might be the only time Tulane's ever in the playoff, to be honest. If the G5 rule changes next year and they just take the 12 best teams no matter what, it's gonna be interesting to see how those meetings go in the off season. But yeah. It's tough to go anywhere other than Ole Miss in this game. I'm really excited to see Trinidad, man. And I think it'll either be they're going to come out with their hair on fire and play incredible, or they're going to come out really flat. Either way, the Trinidad story is one to follow because he's really, if I could start a team with any quarterback in the sport, I would choose Trinidad Chambers for college football just because of his dual threat ability. The guy's incredible, man. So pumped to see him again this Saturday. Okay, and finally, number 12, JMU at number 5, Oregon. It's a first-rounder. Winner gets Texas Tech in the quarterfinals. Ducks a 21.5-point favorite, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on TNT. One final ride at Autzen. It's been raining all week in Oregon, but it never rains at Autzen Stadium. You already know that. Weather forecast for the game, might rain, might not. Love the Ducks jerseys, green and yellow, green helmets, green tops, yellow bottoms, green gloves. Love when the GoDucks.com Instagram page puts out the unis for Oregon. Love this JMU fan who's been taking planes, trains, and automobiles to get to Autzen. Someone get that guy a free sideline pass, man. He's awesome. His Twitter is at DMV Adventures. He's been posting about his journey all the way across the country. He was on a train somewhere in snowy Montana, which looked just gorgeous to make it out to Autzen. JMU finished 12-1. Sun Belt champs beat Troy. Wayne Knight, the running back, had over 200 yards in the game, was the Sun Belt championship game MVP. Alonza Barnett III is the quarterback, Sun Belt Player of the Year, 21 passing touchdowns, 14 rushing touchdowns. They do a lot of sleight of hand, spread, then chuck it long. Saw them in person at Texas State earlier this year. They hung 52 on G.J. Kinney's Bobcats in San Marcos. That was a fun game to be at. They're a really explosive offense. They obviously like to run the ball a lot. That's no mystery. I think how fun would it be if Arch was coming to Autzen this weekend or Notre Dame was coming to Autzen? Like, I do catch myself thinking about that what if. Like, the energy around this game, I think it'll be good. I mean, it's a college football playoff game at Autzen. It should be very good. Tickets aren't too low. Like, the nosebleeders are selling for $80 or more, so they're not too low for sure. It's a special moment for JMU, obviously, to be able to play at Autzen. Like, how cool is that? Like, did you ever think if you were a JMU alum or JMU football fan that you'd be like, yeah, we're going to play at Autzen Stadium in a college football playoff game? Like, that's really cool for them and their fan base. And for Oregon, for the seniors, man, like, I think that's Lanning's pitch. Like, he says two things a lot, like, our standard is our standard, which is the response that he gave this week when he was asked about guarding against some kind of not a letdown, but just like the outside noise being like, oh, yeah, Oregon should win this game by 30 or 40. They're favored by more than 3 touchdowns. Like, to guard against complacency, whatever you want to call it, the outside noise, making the game not seem like it has a ton of energy. That's what he always says, our standard is our standard. And also, I mean, I think his speech will probably say something about, the seniors, the Bryce Betchers of the world, who this is their final time at Autzen. Final time, period, hard stop. So there's some special seniors on the team. Obviously, it's a pretty young team for Oregon. A lot of sophomores and juniors, and of course some fabulous freshmen, especially on offense, and in the secondary. But it's one last ride for the seniors. Is it a backdoor cover type game? 21.5. I don't know. I mean, I think if Oregon shuts down the JMU run game, I mean, to talk about that, like, specifically, Bear Alexander, Amari Washington's supposed to be a first-round pick. Tatum Tuioti, Mateo Uyunglele, those guys are potential first, second-round picks. Like, I talked about that with Yogi Roth on the pod. That's an incredible front four right there. And then, obviously, you have Betcher and Blake Purchase and other guys at Jackson at linebacker. So, I think, if you're Oregon, you got to just flex on that front seven. I think, the safeties, Finney comes down and hits hard. Dylan Thienemann's in the box a lot, hitting hard. So could be a big day for those guys to hit hard in the box. I think they do try to take the top off with these long bombs, the spread long bombs. But in general, for sure, the first thing JMU wants to do is run the ball. You talk about like the talent gap. I mean, Oregon's probably got 25, 30 players who are going to play in the NFL someday. JMU probably doesn't have more than 1 or 2, if any. So, there's just a significant talent gap. Like, it's just across the board a big talent gap. But, Oregon's offense has been clunky, and I think that's what we all want to see from the receivers is, like, does DeCorian Moore play? Does Evan Stewart play? Does Gary Bryant Jr. play? We watched the local journalist tweet out videos of Oregon stretching earlier this week, and DeCorian Moore was fielding punts. With DeCorian Moore fielding punts, to me, that makes it seem like he's going to play. Evan Stewart, I didn't see anything of him even running around, just stretching, and same with Gary Bryant. Maybe there was video out there of them doing that, but I didn't see it. If I had to guess, I would guess that DeCorian Moore plays. He's been resting all of November. Malik Benson and McClellan were huge in the month of November. I've been over that a million times, how great Benson was in November to help the team. Gary Bryant gets his ankle banged up against Iowa, but I don't know. The Stewart thing is just still a mystery to me because he hasn't played all season, and the injury reportedly happened in June, and it was a serious injury. So I do think there's a chance he doesn't play in any part of the postseason, or maybe he plays by January in the Natty. It's just tough, man. So I think if DeCorian Moore and Gary Bryant come back, Oregon can win the Natty. I think if those guys don't come back, it's just much tougher. Like when you don't have two really, really elite receiving weapons, it's just a lot tougher. But I kind of expect Oregon to just play dominant defense and run the ball really well in this game. I don't think it's like, while everyone would like to see DeCorian Moore catching an 80-yard bomb, which obviously could happen, I think it'll be, I don't even want to call it a conservative game plan, just more of a calculated game plan. Don't need to show Texas Tech a ton of tape. Keep everyone healthy, rev everyone up. So I'm still really excited about the game. I mean, it's a playoff game at Autzen. The college football playoff logo is painted on the turf at Autzen right now. It'll be on the players' jerseys, I would imagine. Like, it's a playoff game at Autzen, man. There are a lot of cool things to say about that. But at the same time, like, is it going to be some crazy entertaining game to watch? Probably not. I'm going to the College Football Central site for Oregon football right now, see if they have anything interesting up here. Obviously, they dropped their uni combos on there. See if they have anything else on the first round at Autzen on the Game Center page here. Not a ton. Just parking lots open early. Seating opens at 3, kickoff at 4:30 local. But yeah, it's college football playoff season for Oregon, and sorry, I know that wasn't super exciting there. Was just seeing if there's anything interesting on there, but yeah, I think final take, I would say Oregon covers that 21.5. With all due respect to the Dukes. And my final score prediction was, where's it at? Oregon 44, JMU 17. That's how I see it. Okay, let's get to the Arch Manning story. Arch Manning will return to Texas next year for another year of college football. You got Dave Wilson of ESPN getting the scoop here. It's the ESPN.com article. In a text message to ESPN's Dave Wilson on Monday night, Arch's dad, Cooper Manning, said, quote, "Arch is playing football at Texas next year," end quote. Texas officials told ESPN the full expectation was that Manning would be back next season, even though Manning could have declared for the NFL draft as a redshirt sophomore. So Dave Wilson getting tight with Cooper Manning, getting the scoop. What a scoop. That's usually... I don't know. I guess I would have thought that was going to come from On3 or Arch himself. But, 24 touchdowns, 7 picks on the year, 8 more rushing touchdowns, over 3,000 passing yards or right around it. We'll eclipse that against Michigan in the bowl game. I thought it was a really good year for Arch. The expectations were out of control. The expectations were totally out of control. Everyone expected, because of the last name Manning, because of how great the Texas team was last year. Again, team last year. All those great skill guys. Isaiah Bond, Gunnar Helm, first-round pick Matthew Golden. All of those guys last year. Fantastic offensive line. Kelvin Banks, first round. All those guys last year left. Brand new team this year. Obviously, the front 7 defensively, plus Muhammad and Taff on the back end. Like, the defense was pretty good. Had some inconsistent times for sure. Got torched against Mississippi State, torched a couple other times, but in general, the defense was pretty good this year. Especially that front 7 is totally elite. Simmons and Hill are just insane. I still can't believe Pete K got fired. That's kind of that's interesting. Like, did he get fired because why? I mean, they gave up 35 to Georgia, sure, but they held Georgia to, I think, 10 points or 14 points going into the fourth quarter, and the Texas offense just didn't do anything because the O-line couldn't block or run. They literally couldn't run. They had like one 15-yard rush that game, and then in the first quarter, and then they basically didn't run the ball after that. It's not Arch's fault. It's not the defense's fault. The Pete K thing, that firing is a little bit of a head scratcher to me. But I think Arch was so good this year, but he didn't lead Texas to an SEC title or a national title, obviously, or even the playoff, although I think a lot of us agree that they should have been in the playoff. They smacked A&M, they smacked Vandy, they smacked OU. Like, they beat 3 teams that were playoff caliber, 2 who were literally in the playoff. Lost to Ohio State by 7, right? I mean, in Columbus, first game of the season against that elite defense. Like, yes, they lost 14-7 and did not have a good game at all offensively, although they significantly outgained the Buckeyes in that game, but they didn't win, So I just think I think there was way too much pressure, man. And of course, the name Manning absolutely has everything to do with it. If his name was Arch Peterson, people would have blamed the O-line or blamed Sark. And I also think there's the element of the player getting paid. Like, I put out that video earlier in the year. Like, I was like, what? Arch is such a good dude. If you watch his interviews, he's never passing blame at all. He's always talking about how he has to play better and then the team has to play better. Like, he's such a good teammate, such a good dude. Like, I was like, why do people love ripping on this guy? And I think it's because they're jealous. They're jealous of how much money he's making. He's in Viore commercials, on Viore posters. He has, Red Bull, other sponsorships. Like, I believe his NIL is $3 or $4 million. It might even be more. Obviously, we know the Texas boosters, pay him well. So I think it's just jealousy. I think that's where the hatred comes from around this guy. And, I don't know why people choose to do that. It's certainly a dark perspective that I will never take, never have, and never will. Like, I just appreciate the guy, appreciate the sport. He can, some of the throws, like if you just look up his best throws this year, I think he's got the best arm in the sport. I'm serious. Like, if you look at his best throws this year, made some incredible throws against Ohio State, some really good throws against Georgia, really good throws in other games against Oklahoma. Like, dude, I think he's had the best highlight reel in the sport. Obviously, he struggled in general in the Ohio State game. I think he was nervous. He was skittish. The O-line was so bad. Like, it got a little better over the year, but it was so bad to start the season that they couldn't run the ball. And the second it would get snapped, I mean, he had dudes in his face. Like, dude, you know when I knew it was really bad? It was obviously, the O-line was obviously a disaster against Ohio State. But when it was really bad was when, like, San Jose State, like, absolutely killed Arch. And like, he took like 6 nasty shots from San Jose State, dude. Like, if your O-line can't block a 4 or 5 man front from San Jose State, what the hell's going to happen when you play in the swamp, when you play against Georgia, when you play against Oklahoma? Like, what did we think was going to happen? If the O-line was this bad, and to me, that's the biggest whiff of the season. Like, if you're Brandon Harris, the GM of Texas, if you're Sark, obviously, you guys whiffed. You whiffed on the O-line. Like, they have 4 new starters on the O-line. Obviously, their center last year was a 4-year starter. His name escapes me right now. Jake Murphy, maybe. He was a 4-year starter, really important player on Texas last year. Gooseby, the left tackle, probably will be a first rounder. The rest of the O-line, total mess. The left guard and right guard spots this year, oh my God. I mean, they couldn't block San Jose State. So it was a real mess, and that's obviously not Arch's fault. I think if the O-line comes back better next year, obviously I think all the skill guys will be back. Livingston, his favorite target, was just a freshman this year. DeAndre Moore, I think, has eligibility. Don't remember if Henry's the Cal transfer does, the tight end, but it was, the skill players dropped. The offensive line took a massive drop back. Like, what was around Arch this year was not what was around Quinn last year. And you remember when Arch played last year? Like, that was part of the reason there was so much hype. Yes, obviously because he was a 5-star and because of the Manning name and because he's getting paid a shitload of money. But it was also because when he got in the game last year, he wasn't just good. He was great. Like, remember during the college football playoff and even before that, because Quinn Ewers was a little hobbled, I think he had a nasty, I think he had midseason ab surgery last year, Quinn, and also his ankle was banged up. Like, dude, people were calling for Arch to be the starter last year in the middle of their, like, national title run. That's how good he was when he came in the game. Like, if you remember, Quinn got benched against Georgia. Arch comes in, runs for 60 yards. Like, he obviously started 2 games last year, basically started 3 games last year. Quinn got hurt in the early second quarter of, I want to say, like, the UTEP game or something. And I get it. Like, UTEP and Mississippi State, not exactly teams when you play great against, you can, like, hang your hat on as look at me, like, I played so well. But, dude, I mean, he was dynamite last year, played with so much confidence, and it's because the O-line and the skill guys were so good last year, and those groups took a massive step back this season, unfortunately for him in his first season as a starter. So there was just, it was a combination of that's what actually happened on the actual football field, and then, of course, you have the outsized expectations that were unfair, the Manning name, and again, a lot of haters because he's making so much money. Good-looking kid. I mean, how many kids are 21 years old, good-looking, and making $4 million a year, right? 0.0001% of the world. Seriously, at that age, at age 21. So people were jealous, man. I mean, that's my opinion. I think people were jealous, but from what we actually saw from him on the football field, he was great this year, man. I mean, they struggled against Kentucky. That was ugly. He rallied them back against Mississippi State. Obviously, the team struggled against Georgia. I thought he played well. There was a lot of drops in that game. Like, he could have played better for sure, but I thought he played pretty well in that game. I just hope they surround him with legitimately elite pieces next year, because if he has elite pieces on the O-line and at the receiver spot and they have a little bit more balance, I think he'll take a big step forward next year. And I also love, for as ugly as it was early, I think that tempered expectations in a good way. Like, I think people next year, there aren't going to be a bunch of, Arch, are you going to be the Heisman? Like, dude, those questions at SEC Media Day, like, hey, Arch, are you going to win the Heisman? Like, what are we freaking doing, man? Just let the guy play college football, and he's a joy to watch if you watch him play. I mean, he clearly has an insane IQ. He can make every single throw. And anyways, that OU win was massive for him this year. That game I was at in Dallas, like, he got a ton of confidence from that game, and they played really well after that. Like, they should have been in the playoff. If they scheduled Chattanooga instead of Ohio State, they're in the playoff, and they can beat anyone. I think ultimately their O-line was too bad, and their secondary was too bad against good to really good quarterbacks to actually win a national title. But if they can get those pieces right next year, they can be in it. But I just think the expectation, the conversation around him, like, let's not have it be like, dude, you better throw for 400 yards against Ohio State. So let's calm the expectations. Let's just enjoy college football. Let's celebrate college football. You guys know that's what I'm here to do. I'm not here to give hot takes. I'm here to celebrate the sport because it's the best sport on earth, man. My favorite sport on earth. So those are my thoughts on Arch coming back. Is I think the expectations will be tampered next year. I think people need to realize that the O-line and the secondary need to get a lot better. And, I think it's going to be fun to have him back, man. I mean, him and wherever Trinidad ends up, those will be preseason, probably the two Heisman favorites. But again, there I go. See, I don't even want to say that. I don't want to put that out there. Like, let's just enjoy it, man. I think you get the picture. Let's just enjoy it. Excited for Arch to be back next year. It's a great thing for college football. All right, and finally, let's talk college football quarterback transfers. Portal isn't open until January 2nd, but we already have guys declaring that they're headed to the portal. That's basically how the news is getting leaked. Like, hey, reporter, I am going to the portal, or, end of the season press conference, yeah, I'm going to the portal. Like, it's interesting. It's like quarterbacks can be honest or they can hide it. Like, Sam Leavitt is not officially on the 24/7 Sports portal tracker, but everyone knows he's going to the portal. Dillingham's even talked about it. You even put out a tweet about it. It's an interesting time, obviously, in the sport. We'll get the college football calendar cleaned up at some point. I'm confident in that if we let Nick Saban take charge. Let's look at the 24/7 Sports QB top transfers, quote unquote, in the portal already. Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati, DJ Lagway from Florida, Dylan Raiola from Nebraska, Josh Hoover from TCU, who I think is a really good player. Bo Perbula's down on that list. Aiden Childs, yikes, on that list. Some other guys as well. Kenny Minchie, Notre Dame guy. If I'm a major program, none of those names really stick out to me. I think Hoover's probably the best college QB out of those guys. I don't know what to make of Dylan Raiola. I really don't. If he doesn't get hurt against USC, they probably win that game. They had a commanding lead. I mean, it was only 14-6, but it felt like they were in control with Raiola in there. And then he gets hurt and misses, I think, the rest of the season, at least a significant portion of time after that game. I don't know. Obviously, former 5-star guy. Nebraska is just such a mess that I don't really know if he deserves the blame, or if Matt Rule deserves the blame, or if just like the program itself deserves the blame. Like, it's tough to exactly diagnose what's going on in Nebraska because no one's had success there in the 21st century, basically, at post Eric Crouch. Shout out Heisman winner Eric Crouch. I like Lagway a little bit, probably a little bit more than Raiola, but I mean, there's nothing about Lagway that says he's a good player. I like him a little bit better than Raiola, but not much. Sorsby, I'll be 100% honest. I've watched one Cincinnati football game this year. He's a dual threat guy. He runs a ton. He's big. And then Perbula. I mean, dude, Perbula had his moments this year. Like, dude, Mizzou was close to beating Bama, and Perbula played pretty well in that game. He was a warrior anyway. He took a lot of shots and just kept getting up and led him to enough points. I think 24 points. I want to say they lost 27-24. Like, I don't know. I mean, I would consider Perbula. I'm a little bit surprised that he's in the portal. I need to look into that a little deeper. But, to me, the biggest stories are the two guys who aren't in the portal yet, and that would be Sam Leavitt and that would be Trinidad Chambliss. I think those guys are two of the best quarterbacks in the sport. I really mean that. I mean, if you're Oregon next year and Dante Moore leaves, and he was asked about that pre-JMU media availability, he said, I don't know. There's not a decision yet. Obviously, that means he's at least thinking about it. He didn't state that he's returning. I would imagine he's just trying to see how the playoff plays out. I think if I was Dante, I would come back. My personal opinion. Like there's a reason Bo Nix is having a lot of success in the NFL. It's because he started like 50 college games. There's a reason Justin Herbert had a ton of success early with the Chargers and still is having great success. It's because he came back for his senior year. Remember, Herbert could have been a top 10 pick if he came out after his junior year. Instead, he comes back, wins a Rose Bowl, the whole camaraderie thing, just gets more reps. And what do you know? He's probably the best Oregon quarterback ever in the NFL. So, dude, these guys that have a lot of reps, man. Mariota obviously had a ton of reps, 3 seasons as a starter. It seems to make sense. The more reps you get, the better you are. Like there have been very few QBs who have gone onto the NFL after playing like 1 season in college and been very good. I don't even know if I can name one off the top of my head. So I would be pretty surprised if Dante Moore did not return to Oregon. But if he doesn't, man, oh boy, if you can get your hands on Trinidad, get him. If you can get your hands on Sam Levitt, get him. Levitt would be perfect. Obviously a West Lynn guy. Remember seeing him in high school. I called some of his football and basketball state championship games when he was at West Lynn. Just an insane competitor. And his dual threat ability, like wouldn't that just fit perfectly with the Oregon offense? Like that would just fit like a glove. I think if you can get Levitt next year, and again, I know Novosad's really good, and he'd probably be just fine if he was the starter. He looked good in the spring game. Like it didn't seem like there was any difference between him and Dante Moore in the spring game. They're both pro-style guys. I really feel for Novosad because he's been sticking it out with the program for a couple of years now, been content as the backup, and just didn't quite win the job over Dante Moore. But I think he's really good. But he might transfer if Dante comes back or if Dante leaves and they try to go get Levitt. Like if you're the Oregon coaching staff and Dante leaves, it'd be tough to not go try to get Levitt or Chambliss. I personally, I've said this a million times, I could be wrong, but I would be shocked if Trinidad, if he gets that 6th year waiver, I would be shocked if he's anywhere other than LSU or Ole Miss, and I think it'll probably be LSU. But he's open for recruitment. So that Oregon's QB next year, man. I mean, it looks like it'll be either Dante or maybe Sam Levitt. That'd be interesting. Like if I'm the Oregon staff, I don't touch Lagway or Raiola with a 10-foot pole. I wouldn't touch any of those guys. But anyways, man, I just wanted to hop on and ask which QB transfer would be the best for Oregon. I think you have to go Levitt, right? I mean, obviously the Oregon roots and the spread option and the fact that his coach coached him up so well, Kenny Dillingham, the former Oregon OC, like all of those ties just from a structure standpoint just seem to make so much sense for Levitt to be in an Oregon uniform next year. Obviously he got an ankle injury this year. I think he had surgery on it and missed the rest of the season, but he's fantastic, man. I mean, even without Cam Scatterby this year, ASU was still a really good team. Tough out. Obviously, they beat Texas Tech. Tech was on their backup QB in that game, but still, I would take a long, hard look at Levitt if I'm the Oregon staff. Trinidad, I think my prediction would be that he goes to LSU. Again, he was already asked about that, and his quote was, "I'll have to see who I feel most comfortable with." To me, that would mean January 2nd. He might be headed to LSU to join Lane, especially if they lose to Georgia January 1st. I would keep an eye out on that. Kawan Lacey, their running back, might go join Lane at LSU as well. It's tough, man. I mean, the portal world, it's a year-by-year team. It's a year-by-year thing. I love what Dillingham said. He said, for our bowl game, this is the 2025 team. Whoever wants to play should play, and then if you want to transfer, you transfer, but this is the 2025 team. Let's finish it out strong. I love Kenny Dillingham's words, man. They're so wise. I also think that he had a quote the other day that was something to the effect of, like, it's my job to do the best I can here at the moment. To me, that was pretty clear. I don't know if he will get the Michigan job. They might be interviewing other people too, although the list is obviously getting short at this point. But to me, that was pretty clear that at least he's looking around for that Michigan job. That's the only job that's open that would be worth him leaving. But he's such a perfect fit at Arizona State. It'd be tough to see him go. But I guess if you get that Michigan call, you can't say no, because that program is capable of winning a national title. It's also the winningest program in the history of college football. I don't know. I would try for him if I was Michigan more than anyone else, probably. But So I think his offensive mind fits in there well, but that was kind of an interesting quote that made me think like when I was the local journalist in Eugene covering Willie Taggart and covering Mario Cristobal, and Taggart had that press conference that was like, why wouldn't I be the coach? Why wouldn't I be? That like all you have to, if they don't come outright and confirm, yes, I'll be the coach next year. That's all they have to do, and they know that. That's all they have to do. Boy. It usually means they're gone or at least flirting. And same with Cristobal when he said, I think my agent's drawn something up here. He wouldn't, if you just ask him, hey, can you confirm you're going to be the coach next year? And he doesn't, he's out. All right. So that would be my read on the Dillingham situation. I think any day now, really, because there's no there's no schedule or legislation in college football that prevents a coach from just taking another job at any time, really. He might be the Michigan coach tomorrow by the time this comes out. So who knows? I have a feeling let's keep our eyes on what happens tonight in Norman, Bama and OU up in Norman. So anyways, just wanted to hop on and talk college football transfer quarterbacks, Levitt and Trinidad and Raiola and Prabula. All pretty interesting to me. Don't know where Lagway is going to end up. I really don't. JMU with Billy?